And we're back, South Texas Crossfire, with your host, Attorney Joe Flores. And you can also visit us on floreslawfirm.com and Twitter and Facebook. And let's not forget YouTube. All our videos are loaded up there. And my good friend out in Laredo will be throwing some of the episodes his way, kvtv.com, over there with Gabe Gonzalez doing a great job in Laredo, Texas, CBS affiliate. And let's not forget our sponsors, River City Hospice, Hope, Dignity, and Love. Call today for more information, 882-5900. And Vasquez Flores Home Health, backed by 20 years of experience. Priscilla Vasquez, RN, can either give you a job if you want to be a provider or help keep you out of the nursing home if she can. 881-9922, Vasquez Flores Home Health. With us back again, your commissioner, your voice, 24/7, Joey Gonzalez, and the candidate to run the Democratic ticket, Rene Flores, 347th District Court, running for 2012. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Welcome. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, we were talking about spanking, okay? And I know you guys at the break said, again with the spanking? I mean, yes, we've seen the video. We've seen the Corpus Christi Caller-Times. We've seen the comments. We talked that we've agreed, both of us, and just shout it out if I'm wrong, the spanking was excessive.
It was.
Okay, now, what other measures, we're looking at interventions, and both of y'all's experience, either being on the bench or, litigating or knowing the law. I think the statute of limitations, that boat has sailed. If I'm not correct. I think, though, that they can say that after the age of majority, there's 10 more years, but it has to be sort of aggravated, right? I mean, if there's no welts from the spanking, what can be done?
Yeah, I think it's beyond the jurisdiction date already, but of course, being that you are the judge and maybe, I don't know, even the Ethics Commission can take any actions on that.
Jorge Rangel, the big kahuna on that?
They say that maybe they require him to take some kind of counseling classes or some kind of courses that kind of on.
17 minutes of spanking?
The thing is, that hasn't happened, Joe, since he's been in office, So, and you have to look at the whole picture. He's to blame, the mom's to blame, who's to blame,
There's a custody battle raging nobody's talked about.
The mom was there also, and the mom
helped out.
She was egging him on, and
she comes out of Good Morning America with a girl.
Yeah, and so she's as much to blame as he is. She's a culprit of the whole thing, and she should be chastised as much as he is.
And CPS, I don't know if they're even investigating that. There's still a 10-year-old he has access to. At least they have to look at it. Everybody's under pressure. The whole planet is seeing this. I think 1 billion people. They've got at least a couple of million hits, but on TV. Rene, weigh in here, and then we're going to put it to bed for now, but we're going to be back with spanking. But, in your estimation, now you've done both, right? Prosecution, or you've done defending. Defending. Now, in the federal level and the state. Now, here, if you weigh in, as far as, I know they've already asked you this, and I don't want to commit you to anything, but as a judge, when you're looking at the canons, I believe his attorney came out with a statement, a long statement, indicating his side of it. Can a judge comment like that? Or is it proper, or is it borderline?
Well, if he's the defendant, he's free to speak. He's not speaking about the case. It's different when you're actually handling the case.
Sure.
But as a defendant, he's got that free speech right. I think his biggest problem may be not so much the criminal, because they've already said that the statutes run. It's his credibility, in terms of him being able to continue as a judge. And regardless of what happens with the Judicial Commission and what they find in the investigation, just his whole credibility, I think one of the officials there in the county said he doesn't see how he can continue. And at this point, you have to say, well, yeah, it's going to be very difficult for him to continue. And so I think that's going to be his biggest problem is just being able to continue to sit on that bench.
Well, and speaking of benches, you're wanting to run and be on the bench, and that is there a higher standard for judges? It's not fair, but it's reality. Sure. There's a higher standard, in your opinion, Rene, and weigh in any time, Your Honor. Is there a higher standard that judges, even in their private lives, have to have a higher standard?
Joe, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely, there has to be, because you are sitting in a judge of other people, and so you have to be an example to others.
Unfortunately, Joe, there are higher standards for any certain jobs, even for attorneys. it's a higher standard.
Did you hear, even for attorneys? Did you hear him? Even
Even
for attorneys, even for bankers, baby.
You know, police officers, you know.
You're right. You're right.
You know, United States court officers.
And you've been a policeman. You've been a federal officer.
So
I mean,
you know, we always have to. It's a higher standard that you have to always walk that fine line. You know, walk thin line, because you know you practice what you preach. You know, and then if you're dealing with inmates or defendants or clients, you're telling them, hey, you know, you did this wrong, you did wrong. You have to almost walk that line just twice as better. You know, because people look at you. You know, happy hour. You know, you can't sit in a happy hour with beer on the table, because they'll say, well, he's drinking. He's an alcoholic. You know, and so you always have to watch yourself. I think that.
so drink out of a tumbler that's colored, or what, Your Honor? I mean,
you take a choice however you want to drink it,
but not in public, and because the public demands more from judges. Say, you know, and I know that in judicial races, that's looked at. Integrity is everything. I mean, you know, you've got an appointee from the government and the Republican side, and I'm going to kind of segue into as Democrats, the Democratic Party has a lot of ground to make up from the last elections. Now, in the judicial elections, a lot are going on. Rene, how do you, without giving away your strategy, how are you going to get out the vote? How are you going to get the Democrats involved again and get out that fervor? Do you think the legislation that has made people mad, that a lot of these austerity measures and programs that are being reduced, taken away, teachers being laid off, is that going to be enough? Or people just still with their head in the sand not voting?
I think I'm looking at a couple of things to get out the vote. One, I think what's real important, is what's really been lacking here in Nueces County, is unity among the party. You know, the party's been very fragmented, and I've been talking to some of the other candidates and some of the other supporters of the other candidates about that, the importance of that, and everybody seems to be in agreement that that's going to be important. That's going to be, for the first time, because I think that we as Democrats have our back against the wall.
It's true.
It's a unifying force. If anything, I think that's very important. For me personally, I'm going to try to do it the old-fashioned way, because I think that works in this county, at least among the Democratic constituents, and that's going door to door, and that's just knocking on doors. The old, you know, TV is great. You know, having money for signs is great. But nothing beats door to door, and I'm really going to try to focus on that.
Well, and money. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
I mean, fundraising.
He's all what he said, but more grassroots. You know, people have to see you.
Well, your campaigns, you certainly walk it like you talk it. I mean, you do. Yeah. You've done that, and you've also used other strategies that are ingenious. I mean, just your 24/7 logo, the JAG. I mean, all those name ID, everything. But on top of that, you had great supporters. Your A team.
My A team, oh yeah, my A team, my B team. You know, we all came together. But you know, it's time, es tiempo, to wake up the sleeping giant.
And that is the Democratic vote.
We were asleep the last election for whatever reason. You know,
everybody says it was crossover. Is that true?
No, I don't think
that Hispanics all crossed over and betrayed Democratic ideals.
I've looked at the numbers on the precincts. The voter turnout has been going down steadily since 1996.
And why is that?
Great question.
Lack of interest. Maybe people are, you know, not being given the right information, or maybe you say, well, we're tired of promises that are never kept. You know, and one thing I tell people in politics, don't make a promise you can't keep. I mean, you know, you can't sit there and tell people, I'm going to do this for education, I'm going to do this for the seniors, and then you run for office. And
I'm going to bring you water while you block walk from me? No water.
No water.
I mean, you start from,
you
got to hydrate your...
You did that to me twice.
Did I? I left you without water?
That's right. You walked
when? When did I leave you without water?
but anyway, you know, when I see the paper and it says, well, we're not the ones that firing the teachers. It's the local people
that's not true.
But it's not true, because your money the money you didn't give those school districts can't support those teachers. So really, they are firing those teachers. You know, the people from the House, people from the state, the representatives, they're out there. If you don't give them the funds, they have no choice but to reduce the staff.
Well, I bet you if tomorrow Lone Star cards got cut in half and there was no more WIC, there was no more at all Head Start, there wasn't just cuts, they were just cut totally, there would be such an outcry and such a registration of vote and such a cry to take down our public officials, but it hasn't hit their pocketbooks or their hearts yet.
The present government, Joe, wants to do that. Your state representatives, your congressional, they want to do that.
Do away with all the social programs.
And I can understand maybe some misabuse. I mean, I agree that some is, but I would say that 97% is not abuse. But you're also going to have those 3 or 4% that you have to deal with.
That pull up. Somebody told me the other way.
You can't punish all the people.
They told me a lady went to daycare that she got paid for free. This poor family struggling, family of 4, making $40,000 collectively a year, right through the poverty line. And this other lady, true story, pulls up in a Jaguar with a Louis purse, okay, Louis Vuitton purse, and uses a card to pay for and swipes to pay for the daycare, while they have to struggle and pay a car note a month extra, basically $400 to pay for daycare. So I mean, when people have that disenchantment with that, I mean then that just makes it look like there's 20% doing that, not 3%. Okay, but is that the real deal? I mean, how are we going to do? We've said the problem. What are the solutions to bring out the vote? What's your plan to get out the vote, Rene? I mean, you're trying to work with other factions within the Democratic Party, but what's the real, way do you think that we can try to get out the vote? Is it the block walking, block parties, block captains? What's a strategy that would work?
Well, that's the big question is what exactly we all need to do. And me personally, it's difficult to get into it right now, what specific strategy is. But no question about it, we got to do a better job of getting out the vote. I think there's a lot of reasons why we Democrats have suffered. I could talk about Citizens United, that Supreme Court case, which basically allowed corporations to give unlimited amounts, and some of that money, I understand, made its way down here. I can talk about lack of leadership in the national level, lack of leadership in the local level. Bottom line is, and I'm not pointing any fingers, bottom line is we got to do a better job of being united locally as Democrats, strategizing more together, and doing what it takes to get that vote out. There's been too much fragmentation for too long. We got fat and we got happy because Nueces County was a Democratic county,
and we took it for granted.
We took it for granted, but the trend has been away from that. George W. Bush basically killed the Democratic Party in Texas since he got elected in 2000. Actually, really, since he got elected governor.
They were there for us.
And since then, we've struggled, and Nueces County has been late in following that trend. But we got to do a better job of organizing and stop fighting, because really that's not going to get us anywhere.
Well, and what do you think this one of the solutions? I mean, you mentioned some of the factors and how we can try to get out the vote is television, block walking, but how else can we try? I mean, we need money. I mean, the grassroots efforts are great, but without money, how are we going to get our message out? So what do you see? Are there still some sleeping giants financially that can help out the Democratic Party? Are they out there?
I think they're out there, Joe. I think we just, they have to believe in you. They have to believe that you're going to, do the right thing for the people. And let me just say one thing. Here we are trying to change the system, and the people that are out there, and la gente, this all affects them more than us. But we're out there fighting for the cause to help them, because in the long run, their children, their grandchildren are the ones going to suffer, because they're going to see less and less help.
Closing arguments. Why should they care? Why should they get out and vote?
They should care because we need to change the system. We changed it, and it went against us. Now we're trying to cut everything for the seniors, everything for the welfare. Trying to cut the teachers. They're trying to cut.
Never mind a war. Billions a month burned for 8 years.
That's right. And I think that what the loans for students, I think the president's trying to do a good job. He don't have the support, but he's got, he's trying to make a good effort to help the students with education now because it was taken away from them.
And so many people are bashing him and bashing him and bashing him. I mean, it's just like when Clinton was in office. Seems like when there's a Democrat in office, it's free reign, shooting range, and then the Republicans cry foul that, oh no, the liberal media. Well, the media certainly wasn't liberal. Rene, you can weigh in here. I mean, for 10 years, when 9/11 happened, you couldn't speak ill of George Bush at all, or you were a domestic terrorist. Essentially, and Karl Rove, he's a genius. I take notes from him and try to apply it to the Democratic. Closing arguments. Why should they vote for you for judge? Why should they care which judge sits up there? Why?
Well, as you know, Joe, the judges' races are less partisan. It's less about party politics, and more has to do with the individual and the qualifications. I believe I'm the best qualified for this position because of my experience, my background. I've done just as much civil law in my 19 years of practice. I've done criminal, quite a bit of family, which is, as you know, Joe, has a lot to do with what happens in that court. Family litigation is probably more. There's probably more actually adverse family litigation than any other, including.
That's why I wanted to get your advice on the whipping, Your Honor. Yeah. I mean,
So I feel I have the best experience. I haven't talked about my involvement in the community, not only my roots deep, but I've been heavily involved. I represented the West Tulsa School District when the taxpayers of West Tulsa when a superintendent resigned and they tried to give her $500,000, and I made them give that money back, at least some of it back. And I've been involved in my community. I've sat on the board of directors of neighborhood centers of Corpus Christi, a United Way agency. I was chairman for 2 terms.
I got to put you together with Joey Gonzalez, our commissioner.
Yeah,
you guys move mountains together.
Yeah. Thank you. And so I feel like the combination of my community interest and involvement and my experience and also my education makes me the best qualified, and that's why I'm asking people to vote for me.
Rene Flores, 347th District Court, appreciating your vote. He's getting out there. He's on the Democratic ticket. He's trying to bring unity. And Joey Gonzalez, last 30 seconds.
Your Honor? A good judge, like a good commissioner, it's a person that is qualified for the position, a person that cares about the community, a person that gets involved in the community, that's 24/7. Is going to be there for you. Is your voice, and it's not about taking care of Democrats, Republicans, but taking care of everybody. Taking care of Republicans, Democrats, individuals. Where it walks in that courtroom, where it walks in my office or in the commissioner's courtroom, they're going to be treated the same.
That's true.
And because the things that we're losing as Democrats, Republicans are losing it too.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. But senior Republicans are losing the same things that the senior Democrats are losing.
Yeah. Dave's pulling us off stage. 10 seconds. Anything, Rene?
Well, by the way, speaking of that, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We got to be nonpartisan. In fact, I represented a Republican in Robstown, one of the first Republicans, Rene de Alejandro, when charges were brought against him by Democrats.
Well remembered. At a political motivation, perhaps.
Yeah. But I thought it was wrong. I thought it was wrong that he was being
Justice first, partisan politics second, and we're out of time. Thanks to these wonderful gentlemen who do everything they can for our community. Joey Gonzalez, your commissioner, 24/7, and JAG, that's right. And Rene Flores wants to be your next judge, 347 District Court in 2012. Get out there and vote. We're out of time. God bless. 24/7.